07 Commanders, Captain MD here, and I bring to you another guide video. I haven't done one of these in a while. I am here today to talk about Powerplay 2.0. This just dropped last week with the Ascendancy update. And as it turns out, Powerplay 2.0 is quite complex in how it works and how you can get merits via the various farming techniques. So the guide here today will be a sort of instruction manual on how to handle all the individual actions that you can get merits from. Not necessarily which one of these is better over another, just more along the lines of how to do them, where you can go to do them, and what equipment or other items you may need to bring with you in order to perform them. The other reason I really want to cover all of the Powerplay 2.0 activities is because the Ascendancy update is still constantly changing even after just the first week, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But in case a more obscure method of merit farming becomes better, you'll at least know through this video, hopefully, how to handle that. On the flip side, if a preferred method becomes obsolete due to a change, you'll have some backup methods available to you in the event that is necessary. So how I'm going to do this is that I'm going to address each Powerplay action individually as they're described in the Pilot's Handbook, as well as the types of Powerplay systems where these actions count. Now, for the context of this video, I am pledged to Nakato Kane, which means that certain actions that I do may not be as effective as those if I were to do them under a pledge of a different power. Each action's effectiveness is also dictated by two additional factors besides your power's ethos. It is also dictated by the distance away from your power's main front line, as well as the strength of that individual system. For example, it'll be far easier to undermine systems that are close to your power's front line and are also not getting much support from other systems within that opposing power's sphere of influence. There are three categories of actions in Powerplay 2.0: reinforcing, acquisition, and undermining. Reinforcing actions increase the strength of a system that your power controls and is therefore effective in your own power systems. Acquisition actions are used to gain control of systems that your power can acquire but has not yet gained control of. This also applies to acquisition systems that are in conflict with another nearby power. Undermining actions are used to reduce the enemy faction's control over their territory. One last important detail I want to bring up regarding acquisition systems is that if you are retrieving items and anything that may give you merits in an acquisition system, they must be turned into a stronghold or fortified star system that your power owns that is within control range of that acquisition system. Any place further away and it won't count. In order to check which systems are within control range, check the galaxy map, and when looking up a system in its strategic view, look at which control systems are pointing directly to your chosen acquisition system. Let's start with one of the more simple methods of contributing to your power, and this is exploration and exobiology. Exploration and exobiology are considered reinforcing actions. Simply turning in cartographic data or exobiology data at the appropriate contacts within your power's system will give you merits and also reinforce that system's control. Now, I'm going to put a special note here regarding exploration actions, as there was a very, very recent announcement made by Frontier regarding exploration as a Powerplay action, and that only exploration data and exobiology data picked up after November 7th at 6 a.m. UTC will count towards getting you merits. So if you've already been out in the black exploring and grabbing data before this time, that data, when it is turned in, will not count. However, any data acquired after that point will. Another very simple Powerplay action is ship and wake scanning. Scanning ships or frameshift drive wakes in reinforcing and acquisition systems that your power is in conflict with another power over will award you merits. It should be noted that if your reputation standing with the local factions in the system are allied, some ships, such as police force ships or security ships, will automatically be fully scanned upon just targeting them, which will award you the merits in a slightly more timely fashion. Alright, next up is Megaship Datalink scanning. If you happen to find a Megaship in an acquisition or undermining system, you can scan that Megaship's ship log uplink by using your Datalink scanner, which is baked in on all ships, and this will give you some merits as well. Please note that you can only scan the same ship log uplink once per week. Keep the ship's flight log inbox message in your inventory as a way to mark the time at which you scanned that megaship so that you don't accidentally scan it again too early. Alright, now the next action is an original activity that was only just introduced with the Ascendancy update, and this is Holoscreen hacking. If you arrive at a station and notice that a Holoscreen is not explicitly advertising your power, you may target that Holoscreen and hack it with a recon limpet in order to change the holographic banner to match that of your chosen power. I would highly recommend using some form of multi-limpet controller for this action, either a Class 3 Operations multi-limpet controller or a Class 7 Universal multi-limpet controller, as this allows you to have multiple recon limpets on a single limpet bank, rather than the single limpet that is allowed with a standard issue recon limpet controller. Once the recon limpet is finished and the holographic banner is changed to that matching your power, you will be awarded merits. Please note that you will be issued a fine upon the recon limpet beginning its interaction with the holographic advertisements. This will also reduce your reputation with the controlling faction for that station, so keep an eye on that and make sure that you don't accidentally send your rep into hostile, in which the station will attack you immediately. You can, however, immediately pay off the fine after docking at that station. Also, because you are being issued a fine and not a bounty, station security will not immediately attack you if they see you actively hacking the holographic advertisements. While you're at the station, you may wish to engage in humanitarian and aid missions, so this is the next topic we're going to cover. Completing donation missions, or, if you have the Odyssey DLC, settlement restore or reactivation missions will also award you merits. If you do have the Odyssey DLC, you may also wish to check the mission boards for every individual settlement in that star system, as they all have their own separate mission boards, and by extension, will also have a separate slew of donation missions that may be available to you. Alright, the next item on the list here is going to be escape pods and salvage. This can be done in any Powerplay involved system with the stipulation as previously mentioned from acquisition systems, where items picked up from there must be delivered to a fortified or stronghold system that is allied to your power and within close enough range to support it. Power contacts in your territory can take 5 different salvage items, personal effects, black boxes, wreckage components, occupied escape pods, and damaged escape pods. New to the Ascendancy update are power wreckage signatures, which are unidentified signal sources that can be found in any Powerplay involved system. In these power wreckage signature signal sources, you will find a few wreckage components, either 3 or 4 escape pods, either damaged or occupied, and a single black box, and this is pretty much consistent for every single signal source of this type. Once you've collected enough salvage, you can return to the appropriate station's power contact and deliver your salvage for merits. Now, when acquiring salvage from an undermining system, you do still have to turn them into your own power contact at your own systems. This is a bit of a mistake compared to the entry that is listed at the pilot's handbook at the time of this recording. The game does not give you merit credit when the items enter your cargo scoop as described here. Now, while we're on the subject of undermining with escape pods, I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. Do you remember way back when the Thargoids invaded the Dekiot system a few years ago? There is a megaship that was damaged from that attack, a Lowell-class science vessel that is still there and is still damaged. You can use hatchbreaker limpets on the 3 escape hatches on that megaship and legally pull occupied and damaged escape pods from those hatches. Be advised, there are still Thargoids near that megaship, and if scouts are involved, any Thargoid interceptors that do come out will turn aggressive and attack. So keep in mind of that as you are salvaging from that megaship. Because it is an A. Livingly Duval system, you can undermine it if you are pledged to anybody else other than the Empress herself. So the short version is that if you're willing to accept the danger of the Thargoids, you can salvage from this megaship and get merits from the escape pods here that way. However, this is only a viable option as long as the system remains under Powerplay control. Alright, now let's take a look at combat actions. We're going to start with bounty hunting. Bounty hunting is pretty straightforward. You just have to fight wanted ships, destroy them, and as soon as you get the bounty voucher for them, you will also get merits. You no longer have to deliver any verification of the kills to power contacts in Allied space anymore. That is a feature from Powerplay version 1 that was removed. You can also get merits by destroying any ships that are pledged to a power that is not your own. Now, interactions with the crime and punishment system when related to Powerplay are a little bit weird. A power ship that attacks you will only be issued a bounty against it and become wanted if it attacks you while it is in your own power's territory. Otherwise, the ships will not receive a bounty against them, and killing them in any other territory besides your own, if they have shot you first, will still result in you yourself getting issued the bounty against you. Either way, you will still gain merits after destroying said power ship. While we're on the subject of power ship kills, let's talk about power conflict zones. These will only appear when a system is contested, and this will happen when two factions have gained enough control points to pass a special conflict threshold, and they are locked in battle with each other. By destroying enemy ships in these contested zones that are not allied with your power, you will gain merits. However, you can only properly participate in the conflict zone and get merits if the system is contested by your own power. If the system is contested by other powers that are not related to you, not only can you not participate in the conflict zone itself, but you also won't get any credit for the kills. For example, in this conflict zone that you're seeing here, I destroy a ship related to another power, but because Nakato Kane is not actively vying for this star system, the conflict is not valid for me personally, since I am a Nakato Kane pledge, and therefore I cannot gain merits by destroying this ship. So, you can only do this if you are allied with the power that is involved in this conflict. Alright, now let's talk about interactions with Stronghold carrier groups. Stronghold carrier groups can be found in enemy territory that is considered a Stronghold system, i.e. it's been boosted to a level past fortified, but there is not a guarantee you will find a Stronghold carrier in every Stronghold system out there, so you may need to hop across a couple of systems in order to find the appropriate carrier group. You can also find carriers in your own power's territory and even land at them to pick up Powerplay commodities for trading, which we'll get into later, but you cannot interact with them to hamper them like you can at enemy territory. There are several interactions you can perform at enemy carrier groups to gain merits. One such action is by scanning the support ship's ship log uplinks, very similar to that of traveling megaships. However, unlike traveling megaships, you do not need to wait out a full week to scan these again. Scanning those ship log uplinks will give you more merits. Some of the support ships may contain fighter bays or turrets. Fighter bays can be disabled by attacking them with a recon limpet, very similar to Holoscreen hacking. You do need to Datalink scan the turret or hangar bay in order to get the limpet target point to appear. You can also mess with enemy support ships by disabling their power generators, but I believe this has to be done with weapons fire. I tried ramming straight into a power generator to collapse it that way, and it just didn't award me any credit for it, and the support ships around the carrier also didn't seem to care either, so I do believe it has to be done with weapons fire and not with the nose of your own ship. In a hostile carrier group, any patrol vessel that scans you will attack you on sight. Now, the support megaships around the carrier may not necessarily open fire right away until they're messed with, such as being hit with a recon limpet or weapons fire, but the patrol ships around the carrier group will still attack you as soon as you're scanned, so be careful. You can run a cold stealth build in order to interact with carrier support megaships. However, I found that the patrol ships are quite persistent in getting you scanned anyway, no matter what you do. So instead, I would recommend a tank and speed build. That way, at least if you are caught, you have a little bit of time to let your shield soak up incoming fire, and then boost out of the area once you're done doing what you need to do. That way your ship doesn't spontaneously discombobulate under the fire of half a dozen ships. Alright, the next major category here is going to be trading. Trading can be split into different subcategories depending on whether you are trying to reinforce a system, acquire a system, or undermine a system. To reinforce a system, you must trade a commodity that was purchased from a market that was not the same system as the target control system, and must trade at a profit greater than 40%. This can be quite difficult to do, so I would highly recommend doing a commodity search on Inara for commodities that have wide fluctuations in their price. My personal favorite is cobalt, as it can typically be bought at stations for only 3,000 credits and sold at a profit of almost 6,000 credits apiece, very easily satisfying the 40% profit requirement necessary to get merits. Another trade action you can do to undermine an enemy system or acquire a system you are in active conflict with is to flood the market with low-value commodities. To do this, pick up something that's really low value, such as biowaste or hydrogen fuel, and sell it to the target system's commodity markets, but make sure that the sale price is less than 500 credits, otherwise you may not get credit for the sale. There is in fact a world where stuff like even hydrogen fuel or scrap could exceed 500 credits in sale price, and therefore you won't get any merits for this transaction. You can also sell mined resources. Now, these have to come basically from an asteroid, so you have to go to like a metallic ring to get stuff like platinum, painite, palladium, an icy ring for like low temperature diamonds, or bromolite, something of similar nature. Now, allegedly, based on stories that I've been hearing, that you have to mine the resources from the same system and then bring them to the commodities market, but I don't know if it's just my imagination or if I'm the victim of a bug, or it has to do with me being pledged specifically to Nakato Kane, but for some reason selling mined resources wherever I go doesn't seem to have any effect. I've tried mining in the same system, I've tried ensuring the economy is refinery, I've tried ensuring there's demand at the market, and for some reason, as you see in both clips here, I didn't get any merits for my transactions. So I'm convinced that's a bug. Let me know if you get any better luck on that one, but mining resources should work. You can also sell rare commodities in your own power's territory as a reinforcing action. Rare commodities can only be picked up from very specific systems and increase in value the further away they are sold from said system, up to a range of about 150 light years. In order to maximize profits from rares, it is best to deliver the rare commodities to the farthest system away in your power territory from your pickup system for that rare commodity. Merits are awarded based on the profit from the rare goods, not necessarily the number of goods sold, so you really do want to maximize that where possible. Please note that the supply in the markets containing these rare goods may be in a state of fluctuation due to community interactions and BGS faction states. If you want to try and get more commodities from a single transaction, you may wish to get the local faction containing the rare goods into a state of boom or investment, which will raise the available supply. I believe this can happen also if the faction enters public holiday, but that is a random BGS event and is not necessarily easy to manipulate. You can find a full list of rare commodities on Inara. If you look in the data section under commodities, there should be a tab for rare goods. That will tell you where they all are and exactly how far away you need to travel to get to those locations. Alright, and the last action regarding trade is Powerplay Commodities. Now, Powerplay Commodities used to be a thing back in the original version of Powerplay, but in Powerplay 2.0, Powerplay Commodities are now split into 3 separate categories depending on what you are trying to do. There is 1 commodity each for undermining, reinforcement, and acquisition. For reinforcing allied control systems, you have to take the appropriate power commodity to a different allied control system and just deliver that cargo to any station's power contact. For acquisition cargo, you must pick up the cargo from a Stronghold system that is within control range of your target acquisition system and then deliver that cargo. For undermining cargo, you simply have to deliver that cargo to an enemy system's power contact. Nothing particularly special about that one. It can be very difficult by just looking at the item title to see which Powerplay commodity does what, so my recommendation would be to take note of the item description, which will explicitly tell you which action is relevant to which type of systems. The titles of each commodities are different depending on each power, so bear that in mind as well when you are acquiring commodities and then delivering them later. Please note that you can only collect Powerplay commodities from power contacts in Stronghold systems. Fortified and exploited systems do not have these available to you. There is also a limit as to how many Powerplay commodities you can pick up every 30 minutes. Thankfully, this commodity limit does increase the further along you are in the Powerplay rankings. When I first started at rank 0, I was only allowed 15 commodities per transaction per half an hour. I'm now at rank 15, and that number has increased to 35. So you will be able to get more commodities each transaction the further you are in the ranks. Alright, on to our final topic of actions that'll get you merits. This involves content explicitly related to the Odyssey DLC. You will not be able to perform these in Horizons 4.0. Let's start with uploading malware. There are two different types of malware you can pick up from your own territory Stronghold systems at any power contact. These two items are used either for acquiring systems with Odyssey settlements or undermining enemy systems that also contain Odyssey settlements. As with Powerplay Commodities, check the item description to verify which types of systems you need to use that specific malware for. For example, in my case with Nakato Kane, the tracker malware is used against enemy settlements for undermining, whereas the injection malware is used for acquisition systems for acquiring. You can upload 1 unit of this data to any Odyssey settlements data ports. You may only upload 1 unit of malware per data port at the settlement. Therefore, it is highly recommended to perform this in a settlement that has a large number of individual data ports, such as most tourism settlements, except for that one that has the really large hab building and then this long walkway down to the power center. Avoid that one, it's only got like 1 or 2 data ports to work with. Each data port also is guaranteed to have now 1 unit of Powerplay related data that can be downloaded. This can be something such as power political data or power industrial data or power data of similar nature, which will be marked with a Powerplay symbol on its icon. Each settlement now also has Powerplay-specific containers which can be found using the station's terminals. Level 2 authorization is required to get the codes for the containers, so you can either e-breach the terminal to get the codes, or you can just e-breach the individual containers and get their items that way. Alternatively, if the settlement is populated or if it's in a damaged state, you should be able to get level 2 authorization either from the civilians around the settlement or the dead bodies in the damaged settlement. These new containers will contain special items such as personal computers, special data, or maybe an experimental not experimental weapon, but an experimental item of some sorts. That is, of course, assuming the game decides to be nice to you and not give you an empty container. It can happen, but it's not particularly common. The heck, game? Delivering the power data and Powerplay Odyssey items to a power contact in a reinforcing system will award you merits and also undermine the system where the Powerplay items came from. I think that just about wraps up every method of how you can get merits in Powerplay 2.0. I suspect Powerplay 2.0 will be getting even more attention in the near future with the Thargoid War almost wrapping up. At the time of this recording, we are down to 1 Titan, and Titan Kokijo just lost more than 30 systems last week. So it's looking like we're going to be done with that pretty soon. Let me know in the comments if there's anything I've missed. Powerplay 2.0 is a very fickle mistress, and as I mentioned before, it is constantly changing, so if anything does come up, be sure to let me know. If you have any additional questions, you may also catch me streaming Elite on my Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv. That's CaptainMD13 on Twitch. And I'll be happy to get you all squared away there. Thank you for watching, folks. 07 Commanders, and fly dangerous. See ya out there.